What's up, guys? I am just tuning into a vibrant live right now, and it's very interesting how in flow many of the topics that they are talking about become syncretic keys in clarifying the narrative that we were seeking in the oneness of all of these words and its meanings. So Um, I'm gonna try and get some of the clip in here, but I'll try and use the video after the live has posted. And I'm gonna try and also post it in my community feed. I always do that for my Netflix and chill moments of just kind of, because sometimes all that externalizing and spiraling, it just refracts a whole different locus of identity in terms of now you have all these connections into the numbers and the names of people looking into you and what that means and says about you, and then you look at the numbers on your screen and then it's the U2B and then the Punarvasu Katyoni thing, and they are talking about there's Polestar and everything. I've been trying to Aditi Ashleshering back to the moolah of that Venus Navamshapada that I always felt like I was searching for as this hidden clue, and they are just doing they're doing the math for me. So I'm gonna tune you guys in on that. It's called Fall and the Underworld Journey with Jason Quit and MariAh of Symbolic Studies. And interestingly, when I tuned in, Slick Dissident was getting glitched out.
Connect those to the stars. I tried so hard, and I couldn't find, because it wasn't the same shape. Even though it was close, it wasn't the same shape. And I know that there's hieroglyphs where it shows stars in them, but when I put them to a star map, there was no matches that I could find. So I don't have a definite answer yet. I know it's a mystical tool. I know that it's supposed to break the jaw open, basically, to allow the spirit to come through, or the ka to be released. And then they would have obsidian blades to basically sever the silver cord to allow the freedom of the ka to take flight into the... So there's a whole ritual based in this opening of the mouth ceremony. But I want it to be Ursa Major, because it fits into that whole mythology of the soul leaving and traveling through the because Ursa Major and Minor is also the chariots.
Correct.
So basically it's this is your vehicle. This tool is your vehicle to be released to the northern stars. And it's your guide. This is the pointing guide to take you to the northern stars, which I find fits perfectly esoterically into that, perfectly. I just wish the tool was actually a copy of the constellation.
Right. I got you. This, I'm not making this as a claim, but one area one constellation that kind of could give you that shape is Coma Berenices, and the Virgo constellation is right below it. Boetes is right next to it. I know in the Sumerian system, Virgo was the name for Virgo potentially came from, I should say, John McHugh's work shows this, in a pun in their cuneiform for the word furrow, that the name for that constellation was a furrow, which is like a trench dug in the ground which an adds tool would actually also be used for that as well, or something just like it. To like, it's kind of like a hoe. So Virgo is getting hoed, you know. The furrow is right next to her is Boaz, who is the herdsman in the Sumerian Babylonian system. So that's possibly, you know, opening the mouth of the earth. That's just one interpretation that to me pops into my head as I'm pondering that question of like, where is the adds tool in the sky? And that's kind of fun because that's where we just passed through in the solar year.
And that's why I didn't include it in the book, because it's like I'm trying to like get like exact matches where it's like you can't deny what I'm showing you.
Sure.
But
the fun thing about symbolism is in astrotheology is like one idea is probably up there 3 times or 4 times, not just in one spot.
Right. So that I'm going to look into that. There's what I love about this topic is there's so much to it. I still feel like I know absolutely nothing in this topic. So I'm just a child playing and trying to figure it out.
All of us.
Yeah.
I hear you, man. Feels like a good place to make our way to the wrap up if you guys are cool. I know we're having fun. Feels like we're just getting warmed up, but
oh yeah.
We'll do it again. It's all good, man. Jason, anytime you want to come back, you've been looking into something and you want to bounce off of us fellow researchers, we'd love to hang with you again, man. This was great.
Sure. Yeah, I want to come back maybe after November because I've solved the Leonardo da Vinci Last Supper, and it's pretty amazing.
Oh, I'm totally in. Let's do that.
Okay.
You guys have any closing thoughts?
Yeah, I just want to piggyback off of what you just mentioned right now, Chance, with the furrow. That makes a lot of sense. And let's not forget that Ursa Major, which again was attributed to the adds tool, to me looks very much like a number 7, is probably most predominantly known, besides being the Dippers and the Great Bears and Little Bear, the Great Bear and Little Bear, as plows. So these are plows going around, the pole star. So adding to this trench, adding to, sowing seeds into the ground and everything else, it just kind of all lines up that way. But no, dude, this was a great time. Jason, thanks for your time and answering my questions and things like that. Hopefully we cross paths again, and I'll have to check out your work more and your books and everything else, man. I'm super intrigued.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah.
And I'm just happy to be here. That's all I can say. The book that we talked about a lot tonight was this one, which is called Astral Genesis. And
we got a whole episode on it in the archives from earlier this year, people. So Interverse, Astral Genesis, Jason Quit. Type all those words into a search engine, you'll find it.
And then Egyptian Postures of Power, which is all about mysticism and body movements. That's where I get into the astrotheology and mysticism about it. And that's what led me to these discoveries in Astral Genesis.
And not to mention Postures of Power, apart from the wild personal story of how you discovered the postures, and being teachers in your dreams and all kinds of fun stuff, which we talked about the first time you were on Interverse. You can also Google that, people. I want you to check out both episodes if you like Jason. You pick up that book, Postures of Power, and you'll learn some easy, gentle movements that will help your circulation of your vital life force energy. It's a lot better than your average self-help book off the shelf. This one's actually self-knowledge, and that's way more help. Really good stuff.
Thank you.
Yeah, well, we'll do it again, guys. Check out the Crystal Sun, or is it just Crystal Sun?
TheCrystalSun.com. And you can check out my doodles on Twitter at Jason_quit. I put a lot of doodles.
Yeah, I was looking through those today. MariAh is at symbolicstudies.com, and I'm at interversepodcast.com. Hit me up for some sound healing tunings. Honestly, the schedule's getting kind of booked out. So, if you want one this year, I would say look into getting yourself a tune-up. They've been great, and it's starting to kind of the schedule's kind of filling up faster now because more people have tried it, and then a lot of those people are wanting round 2 or 3. So, if you want to get a tuning, That's all I'll say. It's worth your time. chance@interversepodcast.com if you want to just email me and ask about it. I think that's it, guys. We'll call it here. Jason, let's be in touch. We'll have you back and talk about that Last Supper mystery, Da Vinci Code, fun stuff. MariAh, you know you're always welcome around here. See y'all later. Much love.
Thanks. See you guys. Take care.
Brings forward the terra preta, and that is all encoded in the layout of the.
Okay, I'm just gonna like, so the live stream ended now, and I actually forgot, so I'm probably just gonna edit this and try and add a whole new introduction, but I just wanna hear the part where Slick Dissident kind of like comes in, because I just wanna hear what he has been kind of like having in his think tank, and I just want to see the archetypal resonances to what we have been discussing at Pyrki's Lake, just because of that flash of the lake that was a cover photo to his video. You know, I'm gonna tell myself it was. I'm not gonna gaslight myself about what I saw. And yeah, even the fact that now I'm self-conscious saying it like that, because I'm just like, there's so much misconstruables. That is so mind screwables. And I love his art because like I've delved into the world of symbols to not, you know, like I'm looking at something so bizarre and meant to scar and stuff like that. But at the same time, I feel like what impresses upon me more is the fact that people can exaggerate it and put their weight into certain perceptions and all of that. Because like symbols that like, if I've heard it explained neutral, I'm probably gonna be neutral. If I've heard it explained like very heated and politicized and you know all the like vibrant words words of like the legalese and the co-opting and the patenting and the trademarked and the like all of those things, right? So sometimes I just get so lost in their version of Greek, meanwhile I'm also like talking my Vedic version of like Greek. So yeah, just I love the sync with like the stuff that they will be telling you guys like about islands and placentas and how this whirlpool magic that my visions have been the last couple of just I don't know, it's like it was forever in a way, but it's like I tried to believe what other people said and incorporate that into like the Lego blocks of this castle. But you know, it's just like I felt like Ariel in that cave with like, you want thingamabobs? Oh, I got 20 for that word. You know what I mean? And that's like just the whole vibe of my channel. That's why there's all these little trails for you guys to follow, little Easter eggs of like I'm not saying every video that I screenshot in the background is worth going to watch, right? Like I like I was read for being like an arbiter for is it an arbiter? I never get that right. Literally, the scales. So yeah, and even the Berenice Coleman-ness of it all, and the Boötes Virgo deep-throating it like MariAh and the limo of it all. For the record deal, not that I did that, but like, I would have, I would have gotten me a zaddy or something if I had to. Like the whole Ashleisha being able to do the Megan Fox thing. But it was never meant to be like what that movie was and what all these references that we have now on the outside as like these ugly things. It was just like the way I could see my light move between the darkness that wasn't blotted out from me by the connections already staring back as the shapes of the stars, And it's like my parents bought me this little globe thing when I was young, and I had to like fold this cardboard in exactly the right like little contours that were marked, and I had to like prick out the stars, and then I had to put it over this dome and then light it up. And now I'm thinking to myself, and it had like a flat base, right? Now I'm thinking to myself just like how symbolic it was for my like dumb training of myself in literally like this punctured gaslit world of like all of these things, right? We are the yoni and we are things. So we are watching Vibrant, Fall, and the Underworld Journey with Jason Quitt and MariAh Garcia of Symbolic Studies. This is Vibrant 107.
Northern, because northern is the crown, your top of your head. It's above you, the most high, and that is when the serpent appears to save you at the top of your head.
And to go back to your Cygnus connection, the Cygnus is like a cross, right, in the sky. And there's a great book called, some of it I no, you can't endorse everything that's in every book. I shouldn't even have to make that disclaimer. But Andrew Collins wrote The Cygnus Mystery. Have you read that before? So he has a theory about the Cygnus constellation being referred to in standing stones and temples and other monuments around the globe, and also incorporating Native American mythology, in which there's this idea that upon death, the Cygnus, whatever is at the Cygnus constellation, is like a guardian of the threshold that one has to go through to ascend to the next life or the next realm or join the ancestors. It's been a while. I can't entirely remember. But it's interesting because it's right.
I'm just glad it's not just me, and because I feel so dissonant, feeling like I'm giving myself like a grace or a forgiveness to make mistakes, or when I know I should have researched better or like had my notes or everything pulled up, but I just I get so just starry-eyed at looking at all of these spellings, and it's like my mind is alphabet soup, and it's like I don't know what I see, but I'm trying to also see me, and it's like, it's just that whole loop of it all. I don't want to say feedback loop because it sounds so cannibalistic. And even this thing here now, it has all these symbols. I'm gonna take a picture. It has butterfly symbols, Mothman symbols, bee, scarab, pillar, phallus, that fairy tale, homunculus mushrooms, rainbow dome, Ouroborean, everything, some Isis and a wing that cuts, and a Horus and a Mercury reflection TV. The BRA NBI begot the Underworld Journey #107. This is Vibrant. We shall continue the balance of 11.
Right in the vicinity, if I'm not mistaken, Cygnus is pretty close. Cygnus, I should say, is pretty close to the same. It's above Capricorn, right?
No, it is, but what this is referring to, which is like he's talking about the path of the souls, is that Deneb, the head of Cygnus, lays right in the Milky Way galaxy where you go into the rift. So it's basically the doorway into the Milky Way galaxy, into the dark rift. And this is the entrance into the underworld. This is the path that you go to the galactic center through the Milky Way. So Cygnus is basically the cross or the bird that holds the gate to the underworld that you have to pass through first.
Oh my god, that's like where my Plato is, and we have been overlaying our ciphers to clue us into like Plato in Aquarius and Plato in the third, which is just interesting because that Mula Sagittarius Big Dick Neptune Daddy penetrating energy that we've been talking about as it relates to the Capricorn and Slick Dissident symbol that he showed the backside to the Altair and everything we have been speaking on inverted altars and everything that they will elucidate on further, because I just want to like bring some of their work into like the bedrock of what thus far may have just been like me skimming my own ocean, and there's so much more to be learned, and I haven't figured it all out, like I'm trying to, but I'm also like trying to enjoy it and not, I just think it's about enjoying it mostly. I don't think it's like, I don't know, like all my life I thought I had to learn all this knowledge so that I can Michael Jackson and heal the world, make it a better place, and like all this programming, right? But then it's like people don't listen, and then you're like, okay, well, what the fuck can I do if you don't want to listen? I need to make you see what happens if you want to go on in this recursion and just the insurgence of all the feedback loop constantly making me remember like you could have like shot into a different hoop. And then I'm like, what came first, the chicken or the egg? Did I create it? Is it all in my head?
Is my understanding.
Yeah, and that's the native, or a lot of native tribes have a similar cosmology with Cygnus, interestingly enough. And when I bring in Capricorn, in our comprehension of the zodiac, we often will see Cancer on top and Capricorn on bottom, being the gate of God and the gate of man, respectively. That I think Cancer being the gate of God, right? MariAh, you feel like I've heard you talk about this before. Hold on, you're muted, buddy.
Yeah, you have to unmute.
Oh, can't unmute, MariAh?
I'll pantomime what he's saying. He's saying, I gotta go to the bathroom, and I'll be right back. No.
But anyway, the gate to the underworld journey and Capricorn being at the bottom of the zodiac like that, it makes sense.
And this is the key to also what I talk about in the book. It's the key of Cancer and the key of Capricorn, because it's the tilt of the Earth through the seasons. So it and the highest north it goes, you get the summer. If the sun travels to the 23.5 degrees of the north, you get the summer solstice. 23.5 degrees from the equator to the south, you get the winter solstice. So that's how we have the term Tropic of Cancer and Tropic of Capricorn, because these are the two gates that the Earth tilts into to give us our seasons.
You also have in the Greek mythology, the Iliad, there's a scene where Achilles has to battle with a son of Poseidon named Cygnus.
That is so funny, just because like the signal that I've been having from just like the entire vibration that I feel like this entire team is on. Yeah, even when I think of like learning to draw, right? I wanted to show this girl Megan like how to use her hands, because I don't know what it was in me that just made me know I could draw that little crown of the swan that formed the ballerina's adornment in that symbolic way. But yeah, we drew it, and ever since then I wanted to be a better artist, because it was like that was my tapping into the ability to draw from myself through my hands. And she was my first like yoni consort in that baronial way, with the heat of the fire felt like a blade, and everything that our journey at Pyuki's Lake has been all about, trying to decipher what it meant when the infernal was hazing the moon and the shrimp and the delicacy of the cream and the fishiness of the smile that was traumatizing as hell. But anyway, that's the past, and this is the now, and the present is the gift of my understanding that cash cow, because the milk it hath for me is now the frozen bits of myself that Isis reassembled seeds. And this whole talk that's gonna now go to the Sirius Helical Rising and my placements in Gemini just shining on the horizon.
Or sometimes actually spelled or pronounced Cygnus, because G and C sounds are interchangeable. The C and the gamma is the third letter of the Old Greek alphabet. So that's interesting symbolism. This warrior Cygnus could not be harmed by weapons. He was basically invulnerable like Achilles. Well, I think he was able to be defeated by using a shield, which has probably got its own symbolism in it that's important.
That's very Mrigashira, dear. And it's very Medusa Perseus to the Atlas of the Taurus, of that whole steer, of the ship of the Pisces, and the boat and the rear, of the flip of the tropics, and the Aegean Aesir.
And he's transformed into a swan after he's defeated. But it's interesting, the echoes of synchromystic symbolism that come through, even that might not have been intended by the original writers in the original language, but it ends up having meaning to us when we think about it through the lens of our language. Or maybe our language, the English language, has older roots than we've been led to believe by mainstream academia. But the idea that, Cygnus being, we can go through to get to the underworld. Well, at the end of your life, you might go through sickness. Sickness. And it can't be defeated by, sickness can't be defeated by, conventional weaponry. It's a difficult foe to best.
Yeah. Literally like
Can you guys hear me by chance? Now, am I coming through? You're good to go. Okay.
Because it's
yeah,
like
my
it's
internet's so slow that even when I unmute myself, it doesn't seem to work sometimes. So please forgive me. You guys can probably tell that I'm kind of going in and out over here too.
completion of the
But
process
one of the
of
things I just wanted to mention
the
regarding the
shadow
cross,
into a
kind of
beast.
the new appreciation I have for it, is that
And is that
the
what they
cross
wanted you to
represents
see?
crossing over to the other side, to the underworld
Because
or
splitting
the
it
great
like
beyond,
that
or whatever you
makes
might
all
want to
the
say.
animals
And
that
so
they
when you
eat.
look at the cross,
And does it taste
the
like
number 4
steak,
comes to
or
mind
is it
immediately
tuna,
because there's 4 arms, there's 4 quadrants, right?
or is it just
The
horse
plus
meat?
sign is a cross. Obviously, all of the sort of relationships with the earth relating to the number 4 corners of earth, the square, things of that sort. But the kind of new sort of wrinkle that I have with the cross is that the 5 is actually encoded into the cross as well, and that the center point of the 2 arms that are crossing each other
That
makes
Saturn
that
glyph
5th point.
that we
And the
saw in
number
the 5th
5,
house,
and I would say along with
coming
that,
out
the
of
pentacle or
formlessness in the
pentagram,
5,
is emblematic or symbolic of being a bridge
the
between worlds or
pentagram and the
between realms,
pentacle.
between the physical realm and the spiritual realm, which is why I believe the duat symbol, the if I'm not mistaken, the hieroglyph or the glyph that corresponds with the duat is a 5-pointed star. And so that 5th point represents kind of like this ascension point beyond almost like this 2D plane or something along those
that
lines.
Venus
So the cross in and of itself to me
Rhodes
does represent crossing over,
pentagram thing that
and then
we've
I'm
been
reminded of
telling
like the
about
crossroads,
in the
right?
notes.
Or Mercury too, even having a cross, its glyph having its head and then the cross down below,
And
and it's
that
very
thing
much related to this
collapsing
idea
within
of
the
the
great
crossroads and everything
notion
else.
of them two
So
coming
just even the
together as
cross
one
in and of
star.
itself, no matter how
The
it
Eris
might,
Aphrodite,
appear in the heavens or whatever,
Reva
always
to
implies this
exaltation
crossing
from the
over sort of dynamic.
Leviathan, Saturn, MeduTzar.
It's also the Tau, which is, or the Tav, which is the last, which is the second or the 22nd letter of the Hebrew alphabet. It's the ending. The Tav, it's also represents the mark of God, which is the cross. And when they would baptize you in ancient times, they would put the Tav on your forehead, and then that Tav became the cross. And the number 22 is very important, as you know, tarot, 22, and also your skull. There's 22 bones in your skull, and that's bait. It's your head is the temple of creation, where it holds all the archetypes, and that's why where Jesus is crucified at Golgotha, which means the place of the skull.
They do that even in Mithraism. It might be, sometimes it's a Tav, sometimes it's an X, but it's actually, kind of the same symbol when you think about it.
Is that just like this? Like even what Michael had to live out in terms of that stigma, one going into the 0, the PVCs of the IES, the phi ratio, and the Solomon abyss, the bell of the rainbow that colored the noon, the refraction of the light that gave you day darkening noon. And it's all so wow. But yeah, like creating an X, splitting the vocal cords through a different type of deep-throated, open-throated singing technique. I don't know, doing all sorts of laryngeal gymnastics can create a polyp, or it can plant this Altair, like some sort of homunculian little splice that creates this Virgo Island Records, Def Jam Records, Butterfly Albums, Rainbow Albums, Charm Bracelets, Emancipation of Mimes, Memoirs of Angels Crying, E equals MC Square, all caps. Wow. And then Merry Christmas to you, the whole Gemini. Just tie back to the Yule of the Danishta Catione, split of that anal eye. And this, oh my god, my stomach just made it. If you just heard that, it was like my Coma Berenices was like giving me a literal cat confirmation, like, sang, girl. Just sang for what this body, like, remembers, not in terms of, like, oh, what they're saying, like, it happened to me. Like, it happened to me in what I'm describing, but in what I'm hiding about it as well, very vainly cautious and vanity of the 12. But beyond all of that, it is the potential of these meanings that makes this Matrix Speak deep dives that it's not going to be our series where we, see how the algorithm like mirrors what we put out and how we can build upon our own reflection. Can we stare into it? Can we read into all the subtitles and hear all of our like hits and misses and and it's like that Saturn that like had the like hexagramic gaze of Uranus and that scattering of the Riemann stereoscopic spiratonal slick dissident notion of just everything that came together for my Peacock Castrato being re-described through a BBC documentary of British pride, because they essentially now had this thing to say about the Italians, and whether that's political commentary on my side, I don't care about the stallions. But in 11th grade I read Othello, and it was about Desdemona and a Moor, and a ram toppeth your white ewe. And now my imagination is stirred again, because I remember reading 1984 in grade 10 and The Book Thief in the second term then. And then the next year it was this book. And then in grade 12, I don't know what we did then, because grade 12 was so Piscean and grade 11 was so crystal, and it's so archetypal, and now it's like so fucking abysmal, because it's all of these things, and I love that I see it now, and it's gonna be more of these things, because now I see the pattern of the world's cash cow.
Either like this or like this, but it's the crossing point. Either they're intersecting like that or they're intersecting like that.
And where did the serpent come out of to become a pharaoh? Same point.
And that crossing.
He literally just pointed to the third eye where I described that like yoni birthing thing that I was seeing with the eyes in the background of our Androgyne decipherings, where I just like typed in that word and it gave me like all these alchemical marriages, and I took screenshots just randomly of the pictures that I thought were synonymous to like fairy tale creatures and stuff that was in that Yo-Yo and Dark Rock series that we used to watch on tape, and just so many of the other fairy tales that I've been telling you guys about, right? So the fact that my Hollywood world has like a contrast with like a Bollywood world, because I have various different religions in my family. I have some family members who won't come to a funeral because they are Jehovah's Witnesses, for example. I have family members who are just spiritual and have their communion in their way, and they don't go to a church or don't go to a church often. You know, it's all of these things. And so I've been very like the Ketu in the Pisces I see about like the Neptune relating to the Venus / Mercury Yoga Karga of the Capricorn, Virgo in a coma a la Berenice, and just the Henrietta Lacks of the goats and the steeds, and who's noble and who has degrees and carrots and lupus disease, and it's all just this notion that brews my potion.
Point between the left and right brain, I believe in like Hindu mysticism, they call the pineal gland or some point in between the left and right brain the cave of Brahm as well, and there's practices meant to
Is that confirmation for my
activate
Brahma
that
yoga?
part of the brain to
Because that would be the yoga that
gain
aligns with my
transcendental
natal chart
awareness or
synthesis
abilities.
of
So
the
it
Sag
makes sense as
rising
the third
also.
eye as well.
And we
You want
did
to
see
hear
the
a very
Mars
interesting thing?
overlay with
This
Sag
goes to
with the
biology,
Scorpio
so this is
rising.
not anything to do with the stars, but it does have something
And
to do
then
with the
maybe
stars.
Mars does become the
You
Uranus
have,
node to my 11th house.
and what is it called? It's the nasal cavity
For my
right in the back of your
moon.
throat. There's a flap. Okay, so when you breathe through your nose, the flap opens and closes.
That's
So,
literally
you know,
what
you can
always
breathe. That's
obstructs
through your
me,
nose, right?
because it's like something like
And
the
if you say the word, use the syllable M, okay, very important, you know, like Om, the syllable M or N, that gate opens up, that cavity in your head opens up to resonate the nose, and that resonance resonates the cave of Brahma. It's the only syllable that opens up the gate of the nasal pharynx in your head to a...
oh my god, the way this reminds me of what I said. The pictures are breathable with the threading of the Horus and the light that I see, and the magnets of Magneto and the dancing numbers priming the scene, and the pixelated view of the WMNV and the U of the O and the I that it all sees. So yeah, like, and I have a double N at the end of my name, and I have an N at the end of my second name, so it's like this triple N. Wow. And yeah, and that like car is at the end of my surname, Africa. And I would always be so insistent that people say Africa, not meneer Afrika, meneer Africa. Like, no, my teachers used to always make such a politicized notion of just saying my surname in all sorts of weird ways that I wouldn't know what it meant, but then the class would laugh. And then obviously, because oftentimes I just felt very like the odd one out, and I didn't know why. It was funny because I don't know, maybe I was autistic, maybe I was bipolar. I don't know. I don't think I'm bipolar, but I'm definitely like leaning more towards the synesthesia autistic stuff. Just because, like, as much as I try, like, I can't give myself the same obsession about like math the way I can give myself like about language and words and the art that it all sensorially like sensualates within me.
Allow the vibration in the nasal cavity to reach the plate in your head, vibration-wise.
So your vocab word of the night, everybody, is epiglottis. That's the name of that gate. Epiglottis.
Wow.
Epiglottis.
Wow, I love that word also.
I'm getting so many pings. So, the diction of Aries that I've done with the alphabet around the zodiac.
Oh my god, I so hope he's gonna talk about this because I literally like started my channel based on that diction of Aries and I didn't even know what it really meant as. Like I got the pun diction, but like yeah, it's just like how it unfolded so much more. And just like Mariah Carey as an Aries, like deep throating in Aquarius, notion of a snake, death is a rainbow, and deep voice of like a castrato posing as a fake Utrabhadra archetype of the mermaid, and Clay Nati like didn't make a mistake. You know what I mean? Because she like said they are the mermaids.
Plus the 10 numbers to complete the winter season comports to what you just said in a fascinating way. The M and the N are in Leo at the Lion's Gate. And when you just said that it opens up the pharynx, there are two sphinxes. There's a hidden sphinx. The one we know is the southern sphinx, marking if you're standing on top of the pyramid, the Great Pyramid, which this is all encoded on your dollar bills. Fold up your dollar bills and put yourself on the top of the Great Pyramid. You will be looking down into the valley, facing east, and you will be looking at, on the Great Seals, this is so funny, there is the backside of two gigantic cats. And so this is the cat hole look. If you're on the top of the Sphinx, you're looking down. You look to the
at the feet
winter solstice. That is the Sphinx that is present, that is there, corresponding to the left brain, and we are left brain dominant. The Sphinx that is missing markates the Capricorn, the summer solstice. It is not there. And this is why people's right brain is so vacant. It's so vast. It's open. And that is all encoded in the layout of the Great Pyramid. But I'm tripping because you just said the pharynx opens up when you do the M to the N, which is the middle of the alphabet. We're in the liminal space, right? We're opening
I always speak about
the M idle.
Space.
The M idle of the alphabet is 13 to 14.
13 to 14.
And this is
after
all
she became eternally 12.
right here in the Lion's Gate of August, the M to the N.
I think I started
which is the Hydra in the Crator constellation, which it turns out Halley's Comet actually, back in 87, it stirred the Crator constellation. It does a loop-de-loop. It stirs the cup on its path, or it did back then. I don't know if it does that every time, but that just hits.
Wow, guys. Like, I didn't know what all these things meant when I was, like, channeling it like that, you know? I was just, like I said, I've been, like, down these people's rabbit holes just in my daydreams of, like, trying to invent physics for myself as a child. Like, if that makes any sense.
Because you said this, the pharynx opens up.
The larynx, you mean?
No, I'm gonna have to look it up. It's a complicated word.
Well, but that's actually it doesn't miss because we've got the lion as the Sphinx, but we also have the lynx constellation is just a skip. It's just a skip up. It's right there. It's all there. Anatomic.
And that tarot card that always links the Virgo with the Leo. Wow, and what my astrologer says, because Virgo represents the attenuation of Leo.
Please speak.
Yeah, it's called the nasal pharynx. Pharynx, which the base of the word is pharaoh, just to let you know.
Lesage singing literally always talks about like these pharynxes and things like that about Mariah Carey. And she has that very cat-eyed look as well, like she is tropical Ashlesha, if I am not mistaken. She is. Just with the mastering the zodiac placements, she is most likely a water trine. So everything that we have been saying about like her Ketu in Leo, the Farinelli harkening back, the like Ashlesha Lilith that she has, and the Punarvasu moon that her 1969 chart has, the Jeshta moon and Anuradha moon, Anuradha, wow, devoted to Krishna and all this Christ thing. And I'm gonna like react to another video also about like just what exorcism and salvation really is in these sexual contexts of the words. So stay tuned for that, but let's go on. I'm just like, my mind is going off and I'm not wanting to like usurp this video. I can rather like cut it into portions where they've had clear speaking time, and then like I can like insert like little notes that I make, you know. What's up everybody, my name is Kaylin, I am the Key Keeper, and tonight we have another supreme load-shedding moment of the serene brooks and the winds and the banshee scream of the fairy tale winds and the wings of the bloom and the dragon of the tail and the fire who met Daphne under a watery veil, and the SpongeBob who had courage as the pineapple snail, the Taurus Aleph to the calf from the Grail. And now I just want to speak about what today has been like, what have we been up to, what has been going on within the notion of at Pukey's Lake Key Keepers. So comment down below guys, how have you guys been doing, what have you guys been keying in, what have you guys been unlocking within yourselves and within just the wholeness of everything that is just, I feel like it's so beyond geometry and images that we are striving to venerate, and somehow we have this very humbling notion to not to ourselves. And It's interesting because we know we will be petrified in the images of our potential ideals or striving towards them in a realm of fields, because it all can be so extradited when someone tells you it's not real, and therefore the solipsism is singularly defined to what your narrative seals in the words that you use to compensate for the deal and the cards you've been dealt and the tarot of the wheel and the revolution of evolution in the holism and revolution of the Uranus-Saturn cycle and the Neptunian illusion and the Venus flitters and the mercurial gaze and the gender bending of principles and the Archangel Gabriel's and all of this that can be true even though I am not even saying it. It is true because great ones have been relaying it. And yeah, I want to tap more into this poetry speak. I want to not be a blackguard and a hierophiliac and a sapiosexual and just all these religious fetishized notions that siphons the words into these meaningful potions, because it is writing your psychosexual chemistry a la spiritually of just the whole hitting the Mount of Olives on the pineal seat, the throne Ophiuchus sees back to the Taurus bullseye, Serpentarius is Abhijit, and before the whole split of the cosmic egg and the divine Androgyne swell long and fade, and the hair keeps on growing, and Rapunzel as a story our channel has shared. Flower, gleam and glow, let your power shine. Makes the clocks reverse, bring back what once was mine. How is it all true? And why isn't it you? And why would you be angry if the reflection I am is just as perfect as you? Because my light couldn't be contained as an impurity from darkness stained, and my projection couldn't be something my reflection couldn't see. So who's trying to hide when Princess Donkey Skin is also me, and the Midas touch eyed with the gold of the steed and the dysmorphic ride of the archetypes that androgyne me, and the hormonal adrenalize of the Mrigashira gaslighting Rohini. And who is this? Does it Indra? Who is Prajapati? And does he generate Ra? Who is Isis? And her frozen reflection, Athena Medusa, we gaze as we see. Who is Nephthys and Hathor, the disappearing other sisters who Mercury besieged when he travels from guardian to oracular seed, when the light from the crown is the messenger's deed. And he said it, Mercury became Venus indeed. So the whole vision that I had of a butter knife scraping the ocean waves for the glittering seeds, and my subscribers playlist who took me in the MariAh of star seeds, because it was all of me, and yet I was the none. It was the whole of me, forming the 0 point to the 1. It was all of this math that my thoughts scaled to my art. It was a Libra dance in a library of dot. It was a Uranian bolt and a Prometheus journey scene. It was my creative Shakti unlocked and a light. My darkness gleams, and the two are now yoked, and I can speak in extremes, and I may be a blackguard, but my voice still wants to spell dreams, and I want to speak truth, and I want to act in what I do. I want to be what I am. I want to be Shu. I want to be this, and I want to be that. I want to be an alien and an homunculi bat, because my mind already went there because of the shit that was spat when people who looked different than me told me the level that I was at, and they thought they knew based on what they know, and yet they are screwed because they still have to get into their own flow. And does the genius arrive, or is it ever within me? Is it the demon of the demon eyes who sees the stars behind their night sheet, and the mare of the Mars of the nightmare black Amrit, and the churning of the ocean, and the hordes of Sajit, and the tail that it became, and the color that it yoked, and the divide that it pained, because of the unity that it spoke, because the trifold light gave a refraction of thee, and it split the O into the eye of a peacock sea, and the high E of the Uranus Castrati, and the siren of the world-building mermaids, the seamen would feed. And the ferryman of the Styx that Charon, the splintering heels of the silver and the gold that were shimmers unto heed, the great invasion of a cosmic steed, the inhalation of her egg indeed, the shocking Shakti of a fairy transformed, the butterfly effect of a Mandela reborn, and the inverted eyes and the cold contracted gaze and the statuesque eyes of a light within a haze, and the impressions of eye through which I can gauge the satin of Gorgonza, the tapestry waves, the image, the unity, the 0 and the 1, the begottenness of nothing that proves itself someone, the multiplicity of all, the magic of 3, the division of Eve, and the evening of Mercury, the brightness of the sun, the reflection of the moon, the angles that it cast when it arrived, even as Oshun, when once it was feminine, and the male now wears its face with a robe and a garb and a dress to cut his face, when his bullseye points from the earth through Malkuth, through the vulcanization of the Neptune to Beirut. These archetypes, what do they say? Why am I speaking without dismay? Why can I trust that it will still be? Why can I see what is unseen? Why can I hear that which is not formed? Why is it stereoscopic when the colors are dimensionally inborn? Why is it divided when the U has a W? Why is it an O when a line can create a Q? Why is it Aries and flipped on its head it's a bar? Why is it lie, law, and Lyoya? So why Medea? Why did it gaze? Why did the rainbow, the serpent, embrace? Why was it brazen? And why was it inflamed? Why was it sanctified? Why was it veined? What is the devil if God saw wickedness in you? What is creation if you are not an infinitude of oohs and ahs and the berashit of the Ras and these cosmic turtles and the mounds we drew up through the Jedi hook and the Enneagram smut, because it all became so confusing and I tried channeling someone else, and now it's like they have seen me trying to break the spells, and now I don't know if I'm getting in too deep, but all I know is that the reflections of truth speaks, because even if I cam cut and cap cut it this way, the Filmora will roll and the pictures will align to what I had to say, and the subtitles might even give me Andrews and Giants of May when I'm trying to talk about mermaids and divas and MariAh Carey.
The complete and absolute destruction of the total being. Buddha himself pointed out that this was not true, but Western folks, particularly those of various religious denominations, chose to misunderstand him. The mind, which has therefore been regarded as so extremely noble, is only noble when it is nobly employed. The mind cannot employ itself. The mind cannot decide value. It can only analyze, compare, and try to determine that which is advantageous. The mind does not discover right and wrong. It discovers convenience and inconvenience. It does not show the way to the nobility of the being, but it can help him to scheme his way to some lofty spot in the material pattern of life. The mind is essentially a material thing, and the only way in which it can come to life is when it is vitalized by the heart. Now, if we can get these two rather difficult instruments into partnership, we have achieved a great deal. But at this time in our world, to create such a partnership is extremely difficult. We have the individual unable to contact his own heart core. One of the old Rosicrucian manuscripts shows the heart consisting of an organ enclosing 3 worlds, 3 concentric spheres. These represented the layers of the heart, or the levels of heart function. In the very center, of course, was the symbol of the sun, the life giver, which is deeply and eternally enthroned in the heart. Outside of this were the various circles of the conditioned heart life, conditioning which represented the 2 processes under which the heart is forced to operate. One, the desire or the infinite law which says move life into manifestation, and the other, the finite will of man, which says take life and use it only for the advancement of physical existence. This conflict is a very important thing in trying to understand the levels of heart, because heart does give us also the energy by means of which we remain physically embodied creatures. When the heart gives up, that is the end. And sometimes as we study these problems, we wonder that it does not give up sooner. The mind, burdening the heart, is responsible for a whole series of mental tensions, mental processes. Here we have a kind of Gnostic emanationism. The moment the mind attains an attitude, it calls upon emotion to vitalize it. And according to the level of the mind energy, so the reacting level of the heart energy will be. If, therefore, the mind works out an evil conspiracy, the outer structure of the emotional nature of the heart must thereby sustain this conspiracy. The mind says, I do not want to like this person. So immediately the emotional nature moves in and says, I want to feel hate for this creature. If the mind hadn't started it, the heart would never have followed it. But once the mind draws these patterns, the heart energy or life energy has to vitalize them. And whenever the heart energy vitalizes a negative mental pattern, this pattern becomes a living thing. And from a mental attitude of criticism will then come a great emotional surge of dislike. With this emotional surge will come bitterness, will come cruelty, will come almost a complete savage indifference to integrities of any kind. Feeling takes over as the negative pole of the heart process. And this feeling becomes, in a sense, the slave of mental purpose. The mind is nearly always involved some way in a conspiracy when it forces the heart into a negative relationship. The individual who has wrong emotional conditions has passed through a process of false rationalizations. A good example of that is the individual who over a long period of time develops an acute self-pity. Now this self-pity does not come from the heart. This self-pity comes from an individual being mentally sorry for himself over a long period of time. It means that the mind has very carefully and continuously overlooked or failed to rationalize anything good that occurred to that person. That the mind has distorted the relationship of that person to others around him.